To this week's episode of Kelly's Reality. Today we have an amazing woman, Minda Parker, with us today. And this hits really close to home for me because Minda is a AVM rupture aneurysm survivor. And she had a near-death experience last year. And she's going to tell us her story of what exactly happened, how she got through it, and what happened as a result of that. She's kind of pivoted her life direction and gone a different way now and learned a lot from this. So I'm hoping that the audience can learn and be inspired from you. I know they will. I have seen a couple of your YouTube videos and your website, and it's just incredible, your story. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Kelly. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
My story is a lot like other AVM survivors that I've come to meet, and we have a lot of similarities. So essentially it started with a normal day, and the normal day went to the worst possible headache I've ever had in my entire life. And that escalated even further until we got to the point where I ended up having brain surgery and having an AVM removed. So there was just a lot that happened, but it started off with a simple headache. And from there, I lost feeling in my legs. I started vomiting. So for me, one of the biggest signs was that, because I will try my best to suppress it if I can possibly. I don't think anyone enjoys vomiting. So I knew that.
I'm with you. I have a phobia of vomiting. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So I actually had hyperemesis. And it was during my pregnancy. I had twins. So if anyone else has had HG, you know exactly what that feels like. So for me, any point of vomiting, it was like I knew something was really wrong. And so once I lost feeling in my legs, I went to go stand up and I couldn't walk. And I fell to the floor. And I was actually hanging out with my best friend, and I was at their house, and it was early. It was in the morning, like normal Saturday morning. You wake up and you want to have breakfast and do fun stuff, and it didn't happen that way. So next thing I knew, I was telling my friend, I don't want to die, call 911 or call for help. And the weird part about it was, at the time, it wasn't coming out right. When you have something like this happen, a lot of times your speech is slurred. With AVM ruptures and stroke patients, your speech is slurred. So I thought I was speaking clearly, and I'm wondering why my friend looked so confused with me trying to yell this, get help, and it didn't come out that way. So eventually the paramedics showed up. Surprisingly, I found out after the fact that one of the paramedics thought I was attempting to get attention and thought it was some kind of joke or something. And then it ultimately ended up, we got to the emergency room. I actually remember hearing the doctors working on me, and I couldn't see anything at that point. I think consciousness as far as seeing anything it was gone. But I didn't realize I had been there for 4 days before I actually had surgery. They had to do a shunt and put the drain in so that, the pressure, relieve the pressure from the fluids and the blood in my brain. And then they were able to do the surgery after that happened. And they did the resection. I had a wonderful surgeon, Dr. Wilson P. Doherty in Norfolk, Virginia. He's amazing. And I feel really blessed because he specializes in so many different areas. And I'm like, out of all the people I could have gotten, it's just I got this 5-star neurosurgeon, and I was like, thank you, God. And I ended up surviving it. I just know a lot of people don't. And I ended up surviving it. So I had surgery, and here I am.
And like you said, a lot of people with aneurysms, they don't survive. And I think there's been a recent celebrity death, right?
There's been several. I know there was an actor from, I believe it was Grey's Anatomy, that passed away. There was the singer, one of the singers from I believe the first season of American Idol. She passed away. And I know Dr. Dre had an aneurysm. And it's just, it's weird because it's it happened to me, but I feel like I'm seeing it more. But the thing is, it happens, but it's rare. I feel like because a lot of times people don't know until after what happened. And I was just glad it wasn't an autopsy that discovered what was wrong with me.
Now, for people out there kind of freaking out, what are some of the warning signs of aneurysms that people should be watching out for? I know you mentioned worst headache of your life. That's always, I'm actually married to a neurosurgeon. And so he always says, if it's the worst headache of your life, that's really a big sign. What else should people be watching out for?
Definitely if you have any slurred speech, any vomiting, anything that really feels out of the norm for you. Like for me, it wasn't a normal headache. Like the weird part about it is over time I'd had migraines. I've had migraines since I was like in my 20s. And I'm really interested in the research part of it because I wonder if any of the things I went through in my, younger years were signs that maybe this was growing or this was there. I don't know, but I do know that, the things that were happening in the moment were nothing. I've never had that happen before. It was unusual. I've always been pretty athletic and worked out and stuff like that. So for me to not be able to get up and just walk or do normal stuff, that's not normal. So I encourage people, something like that happens, get to where you can get scanned. Angiograms are your best friend. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh. And like you said, just don't ignore it. I think people tend to think with any medical ailment, if I just ignore it, it will go away. But then, if you if you catch early, whether it's an aneurysm or a cancer diagnosis, or even, some other kind of illness, most of the time, if you catch something early, that can truly save your life.
It can. And I know that from what I'm hearing from other survivors is they didn't even, they weren't even seen by a doctor like right away, or they weren't taken seriously. They were like, they were telling their doctor, I have a headache, and they're taking it as like, that's a normal headache. Oh, you'll be fine. And then it ends up being this. And you're like, what in the world? Like, why didn't anybody look? Like, go look.
Oh my gosh. And I can't imagine what was going through your head during all of this. What was your state of mind like?
Honestly, I just remember just panic. I was in panic mode, and it's the least amount of control I think I've ever had. And I couldn't say anything. It was like there was nobody to advocate for me except for the fact that I had someone with me when it happened. I'm just thinking like, what would have happened if I was by myself at home or asleep or what? But I was in panic mode, but I just said, I don't want to die. And I feel like that was something that was super key, was just like, I don't want to die. Like, get me help.
Oh my gosh. And I'm sure you were a mother of 2 young children too. So I can't imagine what that was like for you as well.
Yeah, it's crazy because in the moment you think as humans, we're like, yeah, if something like that happened, my natural mode is to go in to think about all my loved ones and everything that, all of that. There's no time. You have no time. You literally everything happens so fast. So there was no time for me to really even think about it. That's why I cherish every moment with my kids, because that happened so fast. I couldn't control anything. And if I died, I wouldn't have been able to see them, let them know what I was thinking, let a doctor know what was happening. Nothing. You have no control.
Oh. And what I loved about how your attitude has kind of changed over this, you say, forget the small stuff, really enjoy the moment. And how has your attitude or outlook on life changed since you survived an aneurysm rupture?
Honestly, everything has changed. I feel like there's so many different things, but my gratitude levels are through the roof daily. Like the little things that used to bother me, things like when it comes to dealing with my children, because when I have 2 6-year-olds, life can get a little intense, and I'm still recovering. A lot of people don't, and haven't realized I'm just a year out of this. So where most people are still kind of, the physical symptoms kind of still show, or the physical remnants of it still show. A lot of people look at me and like, oh, she's fine. And I'm like, you don't understand what happens underneath all of this. So I say definitely the time I spend with my kids is priceless. I don't care if the dishes are done right this minute. I don't care if the house is a hot mess. staying in the moment, and my gratitude levels are just through the roof, because I'm just so thankful to God that I have a second chance at life, because so many people just don't.
Mm-hmm. And what a beautiful way to live life, I think, too. I almost wish, not that I wish everyone to go through an experience like you did, but to have that appreciation for life. And like you said, I don't really sweat the small stuff anymore. And you're so appreciative. I'm sure every time, and I'm a mom of 2 little ones too, so I get it. But I'm sure every time you get to hug them or just breathe the fresh air outside, it's a renewed just appreciation for being alive. And I don't think a lot of people have that. And I wish we all did.
Yeah, it took me, like, honestly, like, because I'm such an independent person, and I just having to be humbled to the point of having other people do everything for you. When I was in the hospital, that was the most put me in my place, down to earth I can probably ever be. As an adult, we take things advantage, take advantage of things, and we take things for granted, like, just taking a shower by yourself, or, being able to walk, a few short steps to tie your shoes, or to have coordination in both hands. This ultimately changed everything. Like, I'm a right-handed person, and I'm naturally right-handed, but my left hand has taken over since all of this happened, because my brain bleed was on the left. So it affected my right side coordination and balance and everything. So I actually had to learn when I learned how to re-walk and talk and all this, I had to do everything with my left hand initially. So you take these little things for granted, and I definitely will not ever again. So.
And again, that's just a beautiful way to not take anything for granted, because I think, again, we don't like thinking about death and dying. It's morbid, it's scary, but I think too, a lot of people live life like it's going to last forever, and you are proof that it doesn't. Things could be gone in a second, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. And I love your attitude of just being grateful and present, and not sweating the small stuff. So I love that. Again, I'm sorry that it took such a horrific incident, but I think it's a beautiful way to live life.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I just feel like, we just do so much. We do so much running around and just not appreciating those small moments. But when something like this sits you down, you have no choice but to look at life differently.
For sure. And maybe looking at business differently too, because shortly after your recovery, and I think you have this shirt on as well. So tell us a little bit about what business did you create, and how did that come about?
So my company is God is My Glow Up, and it's godismyglowup.com. Strictly just comfortable t-shirt, hoodies, the normal apparel, the stuff I like to, as a mom, I like to just run out of the house with. I don't really get overly dressed up when I'm trying to run around. I'm grateful. I actually coached my daughter's basketball team this year. Her season is ending, I guess, in a couple of days. So I like to throw on, something comfortable and cozy, and it was cold. And so I was kind of questioning, like, am I going to really like my hoodies? And they actually are super warm. So I'm glad I have like a ton of them. And I know a lot of people, I grew up initially in California, and my neighborhood was Mexican. And a lot of my friends when I was growing up spoke Spanish. So we kind of have a few pieces that we've got some Spanish, and they're cozy, they're comfy. So I enjoy it.
I love it. And what's the meaning behind God is My Glow Up, for people who might be like, what does that mean?
Well, honestly, it kind of speaks for itself. I mean, I have come a long way in my journey, both with my faith and just my mental health, my physical health. Everything has just drastically changed, but everything has changed for the better, and it's worked out for my good. So, if there is one little thing, Jeremiah 29:11, it's, for I know the plans I have for you, and they're for good, to prosper you and not for evil. So I'm feeling great these days. I feel like I'm better mentally than I've ever been. I know a lot of people are kind of searching for peace in the midst of this pandemic and all that's going on. And a lot of times people are like, how are you still happy? How are you still glowing? How are you still? And I'm like, God is my glow up. It's my reasons. And I'm still here. I'm alive to tell my story. So I have nothing else but to be grateful.
Oh, I love it. And so beautiful. And you had said, you're in a pretty good place with your own mental and physical health. How do you keep your mental health and your outlook so positive?
I feel like, we're so busy all the time and we're always trying to get to that next big thing in our lives. It's something that by human nature, I think we just naturally do. We're like, we might be grateful or happy with what we have, but it's like, okay, well, what's next? And what's the next step? And what's the next tier? And it's just kind of like, I see God in what I already have. So I don't need anything else. And as things have gone on and progressed, just things get better and better by the day. I get a little more feeling on my right side, or like I get to see my kids play sports or play games and enjoy the stuff that they like to do. I get to work out now. It's a lot of things that I took for granted that I'm happy with, and I'm great. I'm feeling a lot more at peace these days.
Yeah. And I know you do a lot of advocacy as well for AVM, for aneurysm, for invisible illness. So has that brought you joy as well to advocate for something that maybe, did you even know what this was before it happened to you?
I had no idea.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So the fact that it happened to me, that's another reason why I'm grateful, because it sheds a light on these issues and these illnesses, a lot of the, rare illnesses. And it's weird to say rare because I'm starting to realize there's this whole huge community, but I just love supporting the cause. And, there's causes that are, even as low as $1, $2 a month that you can support for AVM research. And, I've had a couple of friends that have done the like some Strava groups to get together to raise money for research. So I know there's like TAF is out there, like the AVM and Aneurysm foundations. You've got they've got Stop the Pop. But there's just so many ways that you can help people. And I want people to know, like, if you're looking for something, a lot of times we get so selfish, and in the pandemic, we're like kind of worried about ourselves. But then you think, you're like, how can I do something good for humanity? And how can I help other people? This is one of the ways you can help. Like, look at some of these causes that are like not seen or being ignored, and, advocate. It could be simple as sharing a post or something like that. But, there's causes you don't have to spend a lot of money to support. You can, give what you have, and it goes a long way.
Yeah, so for sure. Yes. And like you said, some of the more popular ones, it's easier for the funding, but there are. And that's why, yes, some people don't even know. The only reason I knew of it, again, because I'm married to a neurosurgeon. So I feel like I hear this, I could probably do a surgery in my sleep at this point because I've absorbed so much info. But yeah, and I love that, again, you've turned your life into your new company, and to advocating and helping others. And yeah, it's just amazing. And you have such an incredible story. And what's the best life advice or mantra or quote or, even Bible verse that you really like to live your life by?
Well, as I said, Jeremiah 29:11, you guys can look that up for yourselves. And a lot of times people get really frustrated because the Bible can be kind of like wordy and like weird sometimes. Mm-hmm. So the CEV version is very plain English, and it will explain it to you. But I will definitely say my therapist, and I am truly a believer in therapy. You can go to believe, have your beliefs in a lot of different things, but therapy is very helpful, and it was an integral part of my recovery. But she simply said, give yourself some grace. Her name's Renata Jameson, and she said, give yourself some grace. Yeah. So that meant the world to me, because I beat myself up all the time. And if you have any type of anxieties or any sort of issues at all, we beat ourselves up. And so it's like, give yourself a break,
I love that. And as a therapist, I love that you're talking about therapy. This is amazing. And I say that all the time too. And I'm trying to really give myself grace, because like you said, we're always beating ourselves up. We're our own worst critics. And I think society also places this bar so high, especially as mothers. You not only have to be the perfect mom, your kids have to look perfect. If you're working, you have to be a full-time, employee and a mom, and your house has to be perfect, and it's like this impossible standard of perfection. And I love that you say, just give yourself some grace. I always say, just be good enough. And that's okay. It's okay to be good enough. You don't have to be, superwoman or super mom. That doesn't exist anyway. I mean, I don't think I know any perfect people. Do you?
At all. And I mean, if you ask my kids are really funny at this age. If you ask kids, hey, what's something mom that mom does that you don't like, they'll come up with a list that's pretty hilarious. Okay, I'm back to reality. I'm flawed.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so glad I got to talk to you today. And if people are more interested, if they want to follow you or purchase some of your clothing, where can they find all of that?
Okay, well, you can find me at godismyglowup.com. And I'm also on Instagram. It's Gimgu page. So it's GIMGUPAGE. And I believe that's the same name on Twitter. So I'm kind of all over, but I'm also on YouTube. You can look me up, Minda Parker, and probably AVM or something like that.
Yeah. And I think on your website, or your Instagram at least, I think you have links to different interviews you've done and advocacy if people want to find out more about some of these organizations as well, right?
Yes, my link tree is on my Instagram. So if you go to Gimgu page on Instagram, then you'll get all the links. There's a bunch of ways you can support a lot of great organizations that work for AVM survivors like me.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for chatting. And again, check out her clothing line, check her out. And if you're interested in hearing about what the heck an AVM is and how it happens, maybe donating some money to one of these worthy organizations, she's living proof that you can survive this and thrive on the other side too. So Minda, thank you so much for talking to me today, and everyone go check her out.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.